download the app, their adult, their parent download the behalf. Yes.
Okay, but you don't yet know what your customer cost is going to be in terms of acquisition, right?
We do. We expect a customer acquisition cost of about $30 and a lifetime value of the customer of about $144. And that's based primarily on the trends within the industry with gaming companies and ed tech companies like ours.
Well, I will say this: if you can make this work with customer acquisition costs that's less than lifetime value, there is a real demand for content in this age group, because it's very difficult. I know it from my days at Mattel and Fisher Price and what we did with Barbie and everything else. Parents protect that moat in a very big way. Now they're highly sensitized. So
yes,
your challenge is to build trust. I mean, you're very credible towards that, and if that's very valuable if you can do it. And if you can really get these kinds of numbers, hundreds of thousands of active parents, because they're really the account's the parent, it's extremely valuable. So it's very interesting. I mean, you have the credibility to pull it off, but you have to go through the conversion to convince investors. But I think you have a high chance of making this work, because it sounds like you know what you're doing. By the way, just one other question about developers.
yes.
You have developed. Is this OEM from somewhere else, this platform, or did you develop it yourself?
I developed it myself. I have a team of developers, 9 to 11 developers that are a combination of everything from, full stack, Unity focused, gaming, Fusion experts, etc., that are on board, that are on the team. Okay, and of course, I leverage my creative journalistic storytelling background as well to create the content.
And the app is interactive between two players that are on board?
Well, right now it's not. It is one player experience, but we were very intentional about building version 1 of it that way, so that we could figure out exactly what was resonating with gamers. When we raise, version 2 will be a multiplayer platform that leverages all the immersive tech that allows them to go into the world, to engage with their global community, and to have incredible fun.
That's when your curation is going to be a really big nightmare. You're gonna have to figure out how to make sure no bad guys get on that. But
absolutely.
It's really a very compelling story. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I have to tell you, Kevin, one of the things that we realized is, as a result of the pandemic, with all kids having transitioned to virtual learning and spending this much time that they are on those devices, parents, educators, teachers, everyone's desperate for the content, for these bona fide, meaningful experiences that allow them to do what they want to do in terms of play, but also beyond the entertainment piece, inspire them, empower them.
I agree with you. The single user experience you should be able to curate no problem. Once you go to multi-user, that's when it's really going to test the road.
For sure, for sure.
Mukami, thank
you
so much. Kevin, thank you for the feedback. We appreciate it. Let's bring on Kristen from Brilliantly. I'm really excited about this. This entrepreneur is making some big changes within the breast cancer community. And so let's get Kristen going. Welcome.
Yep. Kristen, you're still on mute.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Yeah. Nice to meet you, Kevin. Thank you. I'm Kristen Carbone, the founder of Brilliantly. Kevin, or Greg, can you switch to the next slide for me, please? We started in an effort to solve a problem. I lost my mom to mid-40s, and in an effort to avoid the same fate, I had a preventative mastectomy and reconstruction. And while I feel really lucky that I was able to make that choice, I was completely unprepared for what it would feel like to live in a body that had been altered in that way. Next slide, please. One of the strange and unexpected outcomes of this procedure was that I feel cold all the time. So when there's an insulating it and keeping it at body temperature, it acts like a heat sink. And for years, I thought I was the only person experiencing this problem. It wasn't until the summer of 2017 when I started women in the breast cancer community and found out that about 75% of them experience this coldness as a constant pain point next slide. I knew right away that I didn't want to make a jacket and a bra. I wanted to make something that would fit into any one of my bras and that I didn't have to throw away after each use. And I'm really happy to report that after 3.5 years of our testing, that we launched Brilliantly Warm, our app-controlled warming wearable that does indeed fit into any bra. Next slide. We created 500 MVP units for this paid beta, and right now we're focusing on those beta customers. We're about to launch our feedback campaign so we can learn how women are using it just as we look towards the launch of our second version next fall. Next slide. Most of our users are from the Brilliantly community. In tandem with product development, I tried to start addressing a number of the quality of life issues that women in this community were facing through free content, programs, and services. And we have plans to monetize those through subscription in the future. Next slide. Ooh, back one, please. Oh, no, you're right, sorry. So in addition to the subscription that we'll be monetizing and the second version of Brilliantly Warm, we have some planned product extensions. So a charging case and limited edition and replacement warmers. Next slide. Our community continues to grow. We're reaching more and more women in the breast cancer space and aligning with other small brands and organizations, including the Tutu Project, which I adore so much. Our users just love our product, and we're hearing from so many women who are interested in our warming technology. Next slide. Right now, we're direct to consumer, and we've been leveraging social media influencers in the breast cancer space with collaborations, other small brands and organizations, and organic PR opportunities. But as I look towards scaling in the future, we're planning some digital marketing campaigns, trying to align with celebrities who have a tie to the cause, and exploring B2B partnerships with physicians and hospital systems. Next slide. I'm sure that you know that women's health and femtech are at the forefront of the popular consciousness, and I really am delighted to be part of that tide change. I think that trend, in addition to how many people are willing to wear smart technology on their body, makes us poised for success. Next slide. The amazing thing that happened during our pre-sale campaign was that 1/4 of our orders were from women who have no relationship to breast cancer. We've heard from nursing moms who say that it helps ease discomfort and promote letdown, and from women who are chronically cold for both medical and non-medical reasons. For example, in their offices or doing activities that they love. And in the next few months, we'll be talking to a number of companies and exploring potential licensing and white labeling opportunities in the extended market. Next slide, please. So far, I've raised $750,000, and I'm just about to close $200,000. This helps support the user feedback campaign and giving me a bit of runway while I raise a seed round. I'm hoping to build a team and start production at scale. I would be more than happy to answer any questions, and you can move to the next slide, Greg. Thank you.
Yeah, fascinating. I've got a lot of questions. First of all, the coldness you're talking about, is that experienced by 100% of the women who have the procedure?
No, so it's experienced from the research that we've done and from a competitor. It's about 75% of the women report that it's a constant pain point. Although all of them, 100% of them, report that they can actually put their hands on their implants and feel that they're cold.
So I'm trying to get to size of market.
Me too. You know, there's so much missing data in women's health, and the very first study on breast functionality that includes this issue of sensation and coldness for women who've had breast reconstruction of the University of Chicago The results of that study have been delayed because of COVID, but it really is, I think this fits in with a number of other issues in this space and in the women's health space in general around sexual health, things that just haven't been really even studied or thought about until now. So our market sizing is based on a series of estimates, but now that we're exploring the future potential and the extended market opportunities, the number just keeps growing.
Can this be, is this effect felt by any woman that gets implants for whatever reason?
Yeah, we've had women, we've done user testing with women who've had breast implants for cosmetic reasons. Some of them report that actually their breast tissue turns blue in the way that, like, when a small kid is swimming in a pool that's cold and their lips look blue. There was actually one user who said that from really limited blood flow and coldness.
So it,
and then
so
it, of course, also,
the potential market size. What about women that get breast implants for cosmetic reasons?
Yes, so we include them. The content and services have not been directed to them, but women who have augmentation are included in that market. And also, this area of your body is a really effective area to warm, to create an all-over sensation of warmth and comfort, which is why we're having women who are chronically cold for thyroid conditions, circulation issues, or work in cold office buildings love the product because it's such a discreet way to control your personal temperature.
So I understand the strategy of rolling it out within the community. I get that because you're the best spokesperson for this product, period. And so you're going to get a bunch of advocates that are going to talk to it. You're selling direct to consumer. But the larger market is any woman that wants a heating device for their breasts for whatever reason they want that, right? Do you have a patent on this?
Yeah. Yes, it's patent pending. We're going into the national phase in December. So I'm working daily with my patent attorneys.
So I guess my question is, distribution of the product, outside of your own ability to sell direct, but do you see the potential of doing, as you mentioned, licensing? Could you go to the brassiere companies? Could you go to the medical device companies? Could you go to any company that's involved in women's health and breast health? How are you willing to license it once you've cleared the patent? Because it sounds like to me the potential for this is very large.
The potential is huge, and we're learning so much from our users, not only the women in the breast cancer space, but women at large who purchased it. Some of them are putting it in their pants for menstrual cramps. We're learning we could be making a patch for women's abdomens, that topical warming helps with all kinds of things. It could be in golf gloves, it could be in ski boots, we could stay squarely in the femtech space.
Utility palette for putting it into panties or whatever it is that it's going to address
our
lower
utility
regions and upper regions?
It's pending and it's quite broad, so it does protect us for all of your use cases as well.
So do you think, I mean, it's going to be viewed as a medical device? What regulator looks at this product to approve it? I've lost your audio.
You muted, Kristen.
Are you
Can
back?
you hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear you now. So my question was,
Okay,
what regulator is this a medical device regulated?
It's not currently a regulated medical device, although we could go through the Smarter Technologies program and work towards that classification, because I think it would open up a whole other market for the product. And one of the things that's happening now that organic through a user who's the founder of a breast pump company is she's running a study to see if Brilliantly Warm helps increase milk production. And that would again increase the market and allow us to get a medical device designation.
That's a whole new market too. Women lactating for childbirth. My goodness, that in itself, if this helps them. Well, look, this is really fascinating. Obviously, I'm learning a lot here. But you know, this is a hell of an idea.
Thank you.
Yeah. What valuation is that 750K going in at?
It's a safe agreement with a 5 million cap and a 20% discount.
And who's in the company? Just you?
It is just me and a series of amazing advisors and a slew of interns.
How would you know what a safe is? Where did you learn that?
I have a really wonderful attorney and have taken classes, have embedded myself in different startup communities, including Ureeka Health, and have tried to learn from peers, other women raising capital, like really trying to learn from the women who came before me to avoid mistakes and do the best possible
Well,
job I
listen,
can.
thank you. That was a very, very impressive presentation.
Thank you. Thanks. It was really nice to meet you.
You too.
Thank you so much, Kristen. Thank you, Kevin. And now for our final presentation.
I don't see Nadine.
Yeah, where
Am I
did Nadine
missing-
go? I'm not sure where Nadine is. I'm going to wait. So while we're waiting, I'm actually going to go ahead, Kevin, and spend a few minutes talking about the coaching and the experiences that the entrepreneurs. Dave, if you've got a second, let's jump on stage here. Kevin, we've really appreciated the mentorship that you've given us. And it's rare that I have both you and Dave online with me. So I'd love to hear about how the two of you started talking about the type of mentorship that we created here at Ureeka, and the key things that both of you see and the learnings that you see when entrepreneurs dedicate themselves to coaching and mentorship.
Well, I'll go first. I mean, what intrigued me about this whole platform is the idea that providing coaching to entrepreneurs has multiple platforms to it. One is communicating the idea to raise interest with investors. That's primary. And so, for example, those two presentations were as good as any two Shark Tank deals I've ever seen. They were able to explain in the first minute and a half exactly what the opportunity was, and then they supported it with their knowledge, because great ideas are a dime a dozen. Executional skills is the next question. And in both cases, both those women explained why they were the right person to execute on the opportunity. And above all that, they knew their numbers. So the coaching platform works. So obviously, these presentations have gone through the ringer. They're very, very good. They're street ready. They have all three elements. Explain the idea in 90 seconds or less, explain why you can execute it, and put the numbers in so investors can understand the risk inherent, the upside and downside. Those are really important. So for everybody listening, the Ureeka platform, this is proof that it works. Those are very, very good presentations done in a very short period of time so investors understand exactly what's going on. So if you're thinking of doing this, you should go through the same grind that these two women went through and come out with a presentation as good as these two. These are 9 out of 10 presentations.
Yeah, and I met Kevin through doing some work and really studying what makes businesses grow. And at the time, I was doing it literally across millions of businesses, and then we took it down from studying the numbers and trends on big buckets of businesses, and when we brought it to the street, and we said, okay, let's get into some cities, and let's start to work with companies and figure out really what makes them grow. There was a couple of things that really jumped out. First, no matter where you went, the ideas weren't any different, meaning there wasn't like great ideas that came from Silicon Valley and bad ideas that came from Florida. Like that didn't happen. The merit of the ideas and the merit of the businesses were very good. And where we were watching entrepreneurship happen were in traditionally underserved communities and women. And then I brought Kevin in to kind of, to kind of validate some of what we were seeing. And, he had data on his portfolio and the work that he's been doing for a lot longer that validated a lot of it. And so what we did is gathered all of the patterns that we were seeing to put together a journey that any entrepreneur with any business could go through. And I was lucky enough to get invited by Kevin to his summit and work with a bunch of his CEOs and really prove out the methodology. And then we went from there to thousands of people to where we sit, today at over 10,000. And and really be able to deliver something that is not just getting you ready for a pitch, but on all the elements. We've developed this thing that we call the Essential Series, that is all of the things that you need to go and execute really well. And along that journey, one of my favorite stories is when we started to approach Kevin about the success and the data that we were having. His first reaction was, "I'm not surprised," and he told me a story about how much better his female CEOs performed in the early days. And I'm going to not do the story justice. So Kevin, if you wouldn't mind sharing that story, but it validated everything that we thought, which was if we can get everybody and democratize access to what to do to grow a business, then the business ideas could win on their own merit. And that's what we remain committed to today.
Yeah, Dave, thank you, because that's a good point to touch on. Over 13 years of data, over 54 companies. At the end of the day, you measure a portfolio by performance. In other words, which companies returned capital, which companies had return on capital, which companies had return of capital, because you're putting money in harm's way when you put it into a venture startup. So over 70% of the success in our portfolio, just driven by the numbers, has come from companies run by women. Most recently, that got quite a bit of press, was the sale of Wicked Good Cupcakes, a mother-daughter team. Legendary deal in Shark Tank, 9 years old, first royalty deal ever done. I own no equity in the company, but received 50 cents a jar in perpetuity, and it was bought by Hickory Farms. So a huge outcome for that. In the beginning, it was just Danny and Tracy, the mother-daughter, and then in the end, there was 26 family members. It was supporting the entire extended family of their family. And the company became the #1 gift, cupcake in America in a mason jar, shipped all over the country. The point is risk mitigation, #1 with women, very strong. Maintaining a balance between revenue and free cash flows. In other words, really being cognizant of the fact that you can grow too fast and go bankrupt with success because you're having to pay for inventory. So understanding the relationship with what resources you had versus what you could and couldn't do. And lastly, that old adage, which I tend to believe now because I've lived through it for so long, you want something done, give it to a busy mother. So the idea that you can juggle multiple tasks, particularly in small businesses, nascent businesses, businesses that are just pivoting towards their first million in sales, is extremely important. And that's an attribute women have. So I tend to be extremely biased in how I invest now, and 2/3 of what I put my money into are women startups. I just met with another CEO here yesterday in Boston. That's one of the reasons I'm here. She's very young but really smart and with a heck of a great idea. You'll see her on Shark Tank in a few weeks, but I think she's going to be a monster success in the food area, which is a very, very tough space. So I love to see this kind of thing.
Well, this is great, Nadine, right? I am going to bring on a perfect example, Kevin, to an amazing female founder that is exactly in the food space, and give you an opportunity to give her your great experience based on her presentation. Nadine, please introduce yourself and Revel Snacks.
Hi, Kevin. So nice to meet you. And hi, everyone in Ureeka and everybody in the audience. Thank you so much also for putting this together. And as Marcela was saying, I am Nadine Calderon. I'm the co-founder of Revel Snacks, a sweet snack company that makes healthy snack alternative for people who are actually trying to reduce their sugar intake. So our mission is simple, is to remove the sugar from the packaged food chain by making the best tasting healthy snacks out there. We believe that it should be enjoyable to snack and without sacrificing the health benefits for that. So sugar is a problem. We all know that by now. Actually, 66% of consumers are trying to reduce their sugar intake. And me and my co-founder, who's also my husband, we are part of that number, because before we launched Revel Snacks, we were those frustrated consumers that couldn't find anything healthier in the grocery store to satisfy our own cravings. So what's missing is a snack that it's still delicious, but that has, you know, all the health benefits of maybe organic ingredients and actually real ingredients, and not they're full of sugar with other ingredients that are disguised as more natural, like honey or agave syrup, etc. So the sweet snack category is a category that's meant for indulgence. And in a category like that, taste is king. So if your product doesn't taste good, you know, it's gonna be very, very hard to get demand for that product. And we know this. So the existing options are missing the point because they're either making products that are maybe delicious, but there are a ton of sugar in them, or if they're a little bit healthier for you, or healthy, or low carb, or keto, or plant-based, they don't taste that good. So consumers, we are demanding, you know, clean ingredients, low carb ingredients, so no sugar, plant-based ingredients, and, you know, still that tastes good. So enter Rebel Snacks, and this is where we had our idea, and we come up with Rebel Snacks about 3 years ago. So what makes us different is that over about a year, we developed this sweetener innovation. It's a mix of allulose and monk fruit. There are two natural non-sugar sweeteners that don't spike your blood sugar, that also mimic the taste of sugar in a very optimal and very, very you know, close way. There is no cooling effect or aftertaste, which most of the consumers don't like, and, you know, it's not caloric, so it's also adds that to the health benefits. So we created this sweet kind of like innovation, and we create all of our products using this sweetener blend. So we have so far 2 lines of products. The first one, and the one that we launched with, is our cookie bites. We have 4 different flavors of these cookie bites. We launched on 2018, and the most recent launch that we have is our nut butters. So those come in 2 different flavors: vanilla cookie cream and hazelnut cacao, something like a healthy Nutella with no sugar. And all products are formulated by me and my co-founder, David. In-house, we are also make everything in DC with a small team of, you know, very hardworking production team that we have. And so this means that we are in charge of the quality of their products. This means that we can actually innovate a little bit faster than most companies, and that we have total control over our, you know, over our production process. So this dream that we had about 3 years ago, as I mentioned before, it's been validated over the last 3 years by our consumers, who actually we have a rate of more than 20% of our consumers are repeat customers. So this is people who've been purchasing our products since our Kickstarter days, which is actually what we use to fund our e-commerce website. And here are some of the reviews that we had on Amazon and on our website. They all agree it's delicious, and that, you know, it's also good for you. So the brand positioning, we brand ourselves as a better for you indulgent sweet snack. And this goes to the people who's actually health motivated and understands the importance of whole foods and low carb foods. So this is people who's actually actively trying to reduce their sugar intake. Also, Rebel Snacks is, you know, sustainable at the core. We have made it a priority to always only use 100% plant-based ingredients. So never animal products. Then eco-friendly packaging. We're also using glass jars for our nut butters and recycled plastic for our packaging. We also try actively to reduce waste in facility, since we have control over, you know, our production process. And we're right now working on the process of getting a carbon labeling to display on the packaging, so consumers are aware of the carbon footprint that the product has, over other alternatives. In the innovation pipeline, we are in the process of launching our protein. They're vegan protein bars, so 100% plant-based again, no sugar. And this is like something we've been working on for about 6 months. And we also want to, in the future, as we grow, to take over other spaces in the snack category, like the breakfast bars and maybe sweet baking mixes. That includes our special mix of allulose and monk fruit and other confectionery snacks as well. So the traction so far, since our launch, we are en route to hit $1 million in sales this year. Retail velocity is about 1.25 cases per SKU per store per week. Right now, our Amazon store is about 38% of our sales, and Shopify is the 33%. So retail is actually what we want to, accelerate and grow, because we see the need and we see the opportunity there. But this is the reason why we're raising capital right now. Is about only 28%, but it can be more. And also we have about more than 3,000 repeat customers on our e-commerce stores. The retail staying power. So we are in a couple of e-commerce websites that connect us to small stores, and we're actually the #1 cookies and bite products on those websites. That is Mabel. We're also outselling other competitors by 2.5 times. They're in the same category, and people, are demanding and are always asking us to get in more and more stores. The growth projection is that we kind of forecast that to hit the $10 million mark, we will have to get into 1,700 stores per year, and this is very achievable by 2023. So which means that will start. We'll see that we will double our growth year by year. So the perfect, we have here an example of our competitors, like Perfect Snacks, who are like the closest competitors that we have. They were acquired actually on 2019 for $300 million, and they generate more than $100 million per year. So the opportunity is big. The space is at the market, and the space is asking for something better. And we see the opportunity of getting into about 750 new accounts in the retail space over the next 24 months. So the executive team right now, it's me, myself, who I'm also an industrial engineer. I'm from Colombia and moved here about 6 years ago. And David Burson, who's my co-founder and the CEO. He works on the development and operation strategy of the business, and he's a biomedical engineer. Our investment ask, we're looking for a partner and someone who is in the food space and can also be someone that we can go to as we grow. And we asked for 1.1 million seed round at 5 million pre-money. And we have invested about $50,000 in the company from our savings over the last 3 years. And the use of funds over the 2 following years are as displayed in the presentation. Most importantly, we'll be making some 3 key hires that will propel the growth for the retail space that I mentioned before. And I'll be happy to answer any of your questions when you're ready.
You said you're on track for $1 million in sales, and it sounds like 1/3 is in retail, 1/3 is in Amazon, and 1/3 is direct from your Shopify site. Is that right?
Yeah, about 40% is Amazon, and about 33% is our own store. 28% is retail.
So in the specialty snack market, why are you so, at this point, why do you care about so much about retail? Because your margins are half of what they are when you sell direct to your own consumer.
Well, the opportunity, so as you grow on the e-commerce space, acquiring customers gets more expensive, and it ends up being kind of like, you know, something similar. Also, more of people gets a chance to discover us when we're in the stores, like Whole Foods. We are in some Whole Foods, but we're not in nationwide. And we've seen that people, you know, it's not used to purchase online, or doesn't maybe believe in, you know, what they're seeing online. They're just more safe when you're just like grab them from a grocery store.
Could you just can you tell me your margins, your average margins? What do you make it for? What do you sell it for?
So it costs us. So we have two different sizes. We have one that sits at the shelves for $6.99, and we have a 45% margin built into that.
Is that because you're selling it to wholesale? I mean, when you sell it, let's talk about the model. It's $6.99, and is that what I buy it for when I buy direct from you?
Yes. Well, you buy it a little less. We actually, on our store, you can get 4 bags for less than $25.
What does it cost you to make? So for, let's say $25, I buy the 4 bags. What does it cost you to make those 4 bags?
Well, actually, you maybe around $10. Yeah, around $10.
Okay, so you got to work on your costs a bit, because obviously your ingredients aren't cheap, but those margins aren't really great for retail, because you have to sell. I mean, if you're going to make this for $2, I'm just looking at your costs here. $2.25 a bag. That means you're going to sell it into retail for $3.50, and they're going to sell it for $6.99. Does that make sense? Is that sort of what you're doing?
It's about $8 to get to make 4 bags. So they are making about when we sell it to wholesale, they're getting it for 20% more, and they're making 20%. But some stores like Foods make 30%.
Look, I totally agree. This category is high growth because there's so many people concerned about cognitive health and spiking glucose, and also cancer. There's a lot of anecdotal and now clinical evidence that cane sugar causes cancer or fuels cancer. So, I mean, that's the messaging that a lot of people have figured out. This is a growth category. Obviously, I'd love to taste this, because the big problem with monk fruit is a lot of consumers don't like that aftertaste. And maybe you have somehow cut it with something else to make it have less of that monk fruit aftertaste. Is that true?
Allulose is the new ingredient that we found. It mimics the profile of the sugar, and we don't use much monk fruit either. Monk fruit is super, super powerful. So you just have to, you know, like find the right amount to make it, you know, like taste good.
No, I think, listen, you're on your way to $1 million, so there's proof of concept there. That's always how it works. If you can get to $1 million in sales, you can get to 50 million in sales. It's all about execution. So I congratulate you.
Thank you.
Obviously, I'm going to go online and order some and try it, because this is the kind of stuff I buy.
We'll send you some. No need to buy. We'll send you
Okay,
some.
Listen,
Evan, since we got you a tutu, I'll make sure that you get some of these wonderful products as well.
Yes.
Thank you.
Nadine, thank you so much for presenting, and I hope that the questions were valuable so that you can continue to build on your presentation skills. Thank you so much for being a part of our membership.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. It was so nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Kevin, as always, your questions and your feedback are invaluable to our entrepreneurs. We're so grateful for the time that you spend with them. Any quick thoughts, closing words on each of the presentations? Something you'd like to see different from each of them, or any final tips?
I would say that these were very good in terms of covering the bases. But what I've learned in aggregate of presentations, seeing thousands of them, you want to get the deck to 12 slides. 12. That's the magic number. So either you incorporate more on each page or you trim out fat you don't need. But most investors won't go past 12. And I think a couple of those were more than 12, but that's just feedback. And something else I've learned on Zoom calls or any, video platform calls when investors are involved, just this is a little hack for everybody to hear. And I got this from one of my women entrepreneurs, and she's 100% right. Always put your title with your name. So when people are listening to you, because they don't, this is the first time they've heard from you. They want to know who you are in the organization. Are you the CEO, the COO, the CFO, whatever? They feel much more comfortable understanding who you are. It's just a little hack, but so those are my two feedbacks. But the quality of these presentations are the highest ever. So obviously the Ureeka platform is it's fine tuning and getting better. So for those of you who haven't tried it yet, I would do it, because these are, as I said earlier, world-class, 9 out of 10, incorporated properly, well presented, and very, very viable in terms of raising capital. That's for sure.
Well, we're so glad that you and Dave got those heads together and that you've been able to support our entrepreneurs and these small business owners in these ways. It's been fabulous for them to have this kind of feedback from one of the top entrepreneurs in the world today. So thank you so much, Kevin. We look forward to seeing you again soon. And I hope that I think you're traveling a lot right now. So we hope that you stay safe while you travel.
Thank you. Terrific. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Kevin. For those of you interested in joining, we've had the slide up here. There are links, of course. Jamie, another powerful female on our team, has distributed the information throughout our social media properties and on our website. Join Ureeka. Come get the mentorship and advice that you need to grow your business. And thank you all very much for joining us. Greg at Zealous, thank you for hosting this conversation on Zealous. And we wish you luck.
Thank you for supporting startups in all of our awards to the team at Ureeka.
That's why our members are here, Greg. So thank you so much for including us in your platform. Good luck with your fundraising. And we hope to see you pitching here as well very soon.
Appreciate that too. Thank you all for being here. And we'd love your feedback. If you have any questions, I've got a long list myself.
Thank you, guys. Have a great, great Thursday. Bye, everyone.